The neighborhood women had a secret group chat where they talked about everyone, including me. Furious, I found a way to get inside the chat. What I read was shocking. At the next book club, I casually said, "So, who wants to hear what the secret group has been saying?" The room fell silent. The women who ran the chat froze as I pulled out my phone. One stammered, "You weren't supposed to know about that." "I'm posting this because I need to get it off my chest. This happened a few months ago, and I still think about it all the time. Changed everything. I live in a quiet suburb outside Austin, Texas. The kind of neighborhood where everyone waves when they pass, where families leave out Christmas lights just a little too long, and where gossip spreads faster than wildfire. When I moved here 3 years ago, I joined the neighborhood book club. It seemed like a great way to make friends. I didn't grow up in this area, and my husband travels a lot for work, so I wanted that connection. The book club was mostly women in their 30s to 50s. We met once a month, each time at a different house. Everyone brought snacks or wine, we talk about the book for maybe 20 minutes, and then it turned into more of a social thing. I liked it. I thought these women were my friends. The regulars were me, Sarah, my next-door neighbor, and the only one I really trusted, Jessica, self-appointed queen bee of the neighborhood, Amanda, her sidekick, Melissa, sweet but a follower, and a few others who rotated in and out. We talk about books, kids, husbands, house projects, normal stuff. About a year into it, I noticed something was off. At one meeting, I walked into the host's kitchen and everyone went silent, like immediately stopped talking. I brushed it off, thinking maybe they were just gossiping about someone else. It happened again a few weeks later, and again. Then I stopped getting invited to smaller hangouts. You know how some people branch off and do happy hour or brunch outside of the bigger group? I used to be included. Suddenly I wasn't. I'd see pictures on Instagram or hear about it secondhand. That's when I started to feel it. The shift. Still, I tried to stay friendly. I kept going to book club. I brought baked goods. I complimented their houses. I acted normal. But inside, I was wondering what I did wrong. And then one night, everything changed. Sarah and I were having wine on my porch, just chatting. She looked nervous and finally said, "Look, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but some of the women have a group chat." "Okay? That's not shocking. I figured they had a text thread or something." Then she said, "It's not just a regular group chat. It's a whole thing. They talk about people. A lot. And you're in it. Like, they talk about you." I asked her what she meant. She hesitated, then told me that Jessica started a private Facebook Messenger group with a few of the core women. It was supposed to be for neighborhood updates, but it turned into something else. They called it the Real Book Club. Cute, right? Except it wasn't about books. It was screenshots, gossip, rumors, petty comments about everyone. They made fun of people's clothes, their landscaping, their marriages. And me? I was one of their main topics. Sarah told me that Jessica thought I tried too hard, that I was always looking for attention, that my husband was probably cheating because he's never around, and that my last haircut looked like a DIY disaster. I felt sick. I asked Sarah how she knew. She said she was added early on but left after a few weeks when she realized how toxic it was. She didn't tell me sooner because she didn't want to stir drama. I asked her if she still had access. She said no, but she still had screenshots. And holy hell, she showed them to me. They dragged me for everything. My clothes. My house. My social media posts. One of them even said I was probably just trying to suck up to get invited to Jessica's lake house. It was brutal. I felt like I'd been slapped. I asked Sarah how I could see more. She said Amanda had once used her iPad at Sarah's house and forgot to log out of Facebook Messenger. Sarah had screenshotted a bunch of the chat when it was still open. She still had a folder saved on her phone. She sent it to me. I read every single message. They joked about my laugh. They said I was desperate for friends. They accused me of copying Amanda's decor after seeing a wreath on my front door. It was childish, mean girl crap. And they were relentless. But the worst part? Melissa and a couple of the others who smiled to my face were in there too, laughing along, adding fuel. Not one of them defended me. I was hurt, then angry, then cold. I didn't cry. I planned. The next book club meeting was going to be at my house. I didn't cancel. I made sure it would still happen. I spent the week before preparing, not for the snacks or the book, but for the confrontation. When they all arrived, everything seemed normal. Wine was poured. We chit-chat about the book. I even smiled, played the part. Then, just before we were about to wrap up, I stood up and said, "Hey, before everyone leaves, I just wanted to ask something." They all looked at me. "So," I said, "who wants to hear what the real book club has been saying?" Boom. Silence. Amanda choked on her drink. Jessica froze. You could hear the AC hum and nothing else. I pulled out my phone. "I've got the messages. Do you want me to read them out loud? Or should I airdrop them to everyone?" Melissa turned red. Someone said, "Wait. What?" Like they were confused. But they weren't. They knew. Jessica finally spoke. "You weren't supposed to know about that." I looked straight at her. "Yeah, I wasn't. But I do." Nobody moved. So there I am, standing in my own living room, surrounded by women who I thought were my friends. Jessica's face? Frozen, like a statue. Amanda looked like she wanted to disappear into the couch cushions. Melissa wouldn't even look up. The others shifted awkwardly in their seats. Wine glasses half full, suddenly not so talkative. I didn't move. I didn't blink. Jessica tried to recover. She laughed, tight, fake. "Okay, come on. We all vent sometimes. It's not personal." Not personal. I held up my phone and started reading. I didn't even pick the worst messages. Just enough. She tries so hard to seem put together. It's kind of sad. "Have you seen her Instagram? Thirsty much? That smile is faker than her marble countertops." The room was dead silent. Then I asked, "Is this just venting to you?" No one answered. I kept going. "How about this one? She probably has no idea her husband cheats on her every time he's out of town." Amanda flinched. She wrote that one. I watched their faces shift. Some went pale, some red, some blank like they were trying to teleport out of the situation. Then Melissa mumbled, "Maybe this should have stayed private." And that's when I lost it. "Private?" I snapped. "You all smiled in my face. You came into my home. You hugged me, asked about my kids, complimented my outfits, and then went home to rip me apart in your little club." Jessica stood up. "It's not like that." I laughed, bitter. "Oh, really? Then explain it to me, because I've got 43 screenshots that say otherwise." Then I turned to the others. "And you, Melissa? You said my fake Texas charm was annoying. Lisa, you laughed when they said I was trying to social climb. You all played along." Jessica stepped forward, trying to take control. "Okay, yes, it got out of hand. I'll admit that. But honestly, you're acting like this is a federal crime. It's just a group chat." I stared at her. "It's not about the chat. It's about you. All of you. Being cowards. Being cruel. You didn't just gossip. You made it personal." And then this part still plays in my head. Amanda finally spoke. Quietly. "She's not the only one you talked about, Jess." Jessica snapped, "Excuse me." Amanda kept going. "You trashed everyone. Even Melissa. Even me." Melissa looked up, confused. "What?" Amanda looked at her. "She said your baby name choices were basic. She said your house looked like a Pinterest board from 2015. Melissa's face turned red. "You said what?" Jessica looked furious. "Oh, come on. I made a joke." Amanda cut her off. "No. You always made jokes. About everyone. And we let you. I let you. I didn't want to be the one you turned on next. That broke the dam." Lisa jumped in. "You said my son looked like a public school warning sign. That wasn't a joke. That was sick." Another woman chimed in. "You said my husband looked like he sold used RVs in a parking lot." It was a domino effect. Every single person who had laughed along or stayed quiet suddenly realized Jessica had dirt on all of them. Because she talked trash about everyone. I wasn't the only one. I was just the first one to call it out. Jessica looked around the room like she was surrounded. "Okay," she said, voice shaky, "maybe I crossed a line. But let's be real, some of you said things too. Don't act innocent now." She looked at Amanda. "You said she was probably broke from trying to keep up with my kitchen reno." Amanda blinked. "Yeah. Because you made me feel like trash for using laminate. You were awful to me and I wanted to feel better about myself." The air was thick. No one was pretending anymore. These weren't just mean texts. This was poison passed around from one person to the next, dressed up as just venting, but it had made everyone turn on each other. And now that it was out, the whole room was unraveling. I sat down slow, still holding my phone. Nobody picked up their wine. Nobody made excuses. It was like we all finally saw what had been brewing for months, years maybe. It wasn't just about me. Jessica had built an empire of subtle bullying, and we'd all lived under it. Some helped her. Some stayed quiet. Some smiled while their names got dragged in the next message. I didn't plan what came next. I just knew I wasn't done. I think we should talk about everything, I said. Out loud. No screens. No secrets. And I saw real fear on their faces. Not because of what I said, but because now they might get exposed too. So there we were. My living room. Half the book club ready to turn on Jessica. The other half trying to pretend they were above it all. And me? Sitting calmly with my phone in one hand and years of fake smiles in the other. It should have ended there, right? It didn't. Because the moment I said, let's talk about everything. No screens. No secrets, something shifted. Amanda, quiet, nervous Amanda, looked at me and said, before we do, there's something you should know. I turned. What? She hesitated. Then she looked directly at Jessica and said, tell her about the other group. Jessica's mouth opened. Then closed. Don't. But Amanda was done. She has another chat. Not Facebook. A private text thread. Smaller. Just 3 people. It's worse. My stomach dropped. Amanda looked at me. You're not the only one she's gone after. You're just the one she picked for a takedown. She's been stirring stuff for months. Years. Making people distrust each other. Playing people against each other. Jessica exploded. That's not true. You're just bitter. Shut up, Jess, Amanda snapped. I've covered for you enough. Everyone went quiet again. This was a new side of Amanda. And she wasn't done. She didn't just gossip about you, she said to me. She tried to get your husband kicked out of the HOA board. I blinked. What? She emailed the board anonymously. Said he was misusing funds because he approved the community garden budget too fast. That garden was my idea. My husband had volunteered to help push it through because no one else wanted to deal with city forms. Why would she do that? I asked. Amanda shrugged. Because you were getting too popular. People liked you. And Jess doesn't like not being the center. Jessica was fuming now. That is not what happened. But it was too late. The room had turned on her. And then Sarah. Remember Sarah? My next-door neighbor who showed me the screenshots in the first place. Spoke up. There's more, she said. Quietly, but clearly. She stood and pulled her phone from her purse. I didn't tell you this earlier, she said to me. Because I didn't want to upset you. But I took screenshots from that other chat too. The private one. She turned her phone to me. And there it was. A message from Jessica. A month ago. I'm going to destroy her. She thinks everyone likes her. Let's see how she does when we isolate her. We'll start by cutting her out of side events. Then I'll spread a few things to the other moms, little things. Nothing traceable. Just enough to make her uncomfortable. I give it 3 months. She'll quit the club. I read it once. Then again. My heart was pounding. Not from shock, but from rage. This wasn't just gossip. It was a plan. A calculated, organized, slow-burn takedown of me. A neighbor. A woman she hugged at brunch. A woman whose dog she'd pet on the sidewalk. A woman who never saw it coming. I looked at her. Why? Jessica didn't answer. Then Melissa. Sweet, soft-spoken Melissa. Said. Because she did it to me last year. The room turned. Melissa nodded, quietly. She started spreading rumors about my sister. Said she had a drinking problem. Said I'd lied about why we missed the Halloween party. Made everyone uncomfortable around me. I thought it was just me. But then she started turning people against my daughter, too. A child. She took a breath. I nearly left the group. But I was scared. She's good at making people afraid of her. I looked around the room. I saw women shifting in their seats. Not out of guilt, but recognition. This had happened before. Jessica had done it before. And now she was caught. But then came the next twist. Jessica grabbed her purse and said, If you all think I'm the villain here, fine. But maybe someone should check who's been leaking screenshots. Maybe she's the one playing games. She pointed at Sarah. The room went tense again. She's the one who's always watching, Jessica snapped. Always collecting receipts. I wouldn't be surprised if she's got dirt on all of you. I looked at Sarah. She didn't blink. You're not wrong, Sarah said calm. I do have receipts. Because I knew this day would come. Jessica stormed out, slamming the door behind her. And the room erupted. Some people were furious. Some were scared. Some just wanted to pretend none of this ever happened. I sat there, not saying a word, because now I wasn't sure who I could trust. Sarah saved me. But was she just watching the whole time, waiting for her moment? Amanda confessed, but only after the group turned. Melissa had been a victim, but still laughed at my expense. And I wasn't done yet. There was still the issue of my husband getting dragged into this. Still the matter of the HOA email. Still the question of who knew what and when. This wasn't just about gossip anymore. It was war. After Jessica stormed out, the room was wrecked. No one wanted to admit what they had done. But no one could deny it anymore. The group had rotted from the inside out, and now the decay was out in the open. I didn't say much that night. I let them sit in it. Eventually, they all left. Quiet, embarrassed, avoiding eye contact. I sat alone in my living room, phone still in my hand. I should have felt victorious. But I didn't. Because yeah, Jessica started it. But I helped finish it. I exposed everything. I wanted revenge. And I got it. But the truth? I was part of the game now, too. Word spread in the neighborhood fast. Faster than I expected. Someone must have told someone. By the end of that week, the entire block knew about the real book club. People were whispering in grocery stores, in school pickup lines, in driveways. It wasn't just a book club scandal anymore. It was neighborhood news. And then something happened I hadn't planned. Jessica's husband got a call from the HOA board. They traced that fake anonymous email about my husband back to their IP address. Apparently, the board took the accusation seriously and opened a quiet inquiry weeks ago. Now it was clear who sent it. And why. Jessica tried to spin it, say it was a joke, that it was misunderstood. But the HOA didn't find it funny. Neither did her husband. He left, packed a bag, moved into a hotel. 2 weeks later, the for sale sign went up in their yard. She was gone by the end of the month. I should have seen it earlier. Sarah had more screenshots than she ever let on. She had things that weren't even sent to her directly. She admitted she logged into Amanda's old Facebook once after she left it open during dinner. She said it was for my protection. But no one buys that anymore. Turns out she had been collecting dirt on everyone. Not just to help me, but because she liked having the power. She'd done this before in her last neighborhood. Someone found an old HOA forum post about her being the mole in a local Facebook group. She had a pattern. She smiled in your face, gave you banana bread, and then quietly saved every mistake you made for later use. Once people found out, she was done here too. No one waved anymore. Her kids stopped getting invited to birthdays. Even her husband, who always smiled at barbecues, looked like he was counting the days until they moved. They were gone by summer. This part's hard to admit. I wanted revenge. And I got it. I lit the match and watched the whole thing burn. But then it kept burning. Melissa and the others tried to rebuild the club with new members. It flopped. No one trusted it anymore. Amanda tried to apologize publicly. But people remembered what she said about my husband. They didn't forgive. And me? People were friendly but distant. Like I was radioactive. Like I had seen too much. Like I might expose them next. And I realized I kind of became what I hated. I became the one holding screenshots. The one dropping bombs. The one who stood in front of a group of people and chose violence over grace. Did they deserve it? Yeah. But part of me enjoyed it too much. And that's on me. A few months later, the neighborhood was quieter. The gossip slowed. The book club was gone. One night, I sat on my porch sipping wine, looking at Jessica's old house, empty, lights off, a sold sign leaning crooked in the yard. I thought about all the things she said. All the things I said. And I whispered we all got what we deserved. Then I deleted the screenshots. Every single one. I went back inside. I locked my phone in a drawer. And I haven't opened a group chat since.